It has been one of the biggest sticking points in post-Brexit negotiations, how to regulate trade with Northern Ireland. Now, the European Union and the UK have made a breakthrough. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak struck a draft agreement following high-level talks near London. Sunak hailed a new chapter in relations with Brussels, and von der Leyen said the new so-called Windsor framework protected the markets of both parties and supported stability in Northern Ireland. Let's hear more of what the British Prime Minister had to say.
I'm pleased to report that we have now made a decisive breakthrough. Together, we have changed the original protocol and are today announcing the new Windsor framework. Today's agreement delivers smooth-flowing trade within the whole of the United Kingdom, protects Northern Ireland's place in our union, and safeguards sovereignty for the people of Northern Ireland.
And the European Commission President said she was confident this agreement would work for all parties involved.
This new framework will allow us to begin a new chapter. It provides for long-lasting solutions that both of us are confident will work for all people and businesses in Northern Ireland. Solutions that respond directly to the concerns they have raised.
And let's get the view from London and Brussels now with our correspondents Birgit Maas and Jack Parrock. Birgit, let's start with you in London there. There were smiles all round there. What's in this deal?
Well, Rishi Sunak can definitely be very happy because the EU has made for him quite a few concessions, and they have agreed, for example, to have so-called green and red lines. That means those products that go from the UK into Northern Ireland and that stay in Northern Ireland, there will be no checks, and that reduces the barriers, the trade barriers between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK, reduces them for quite a lot. So this is what those people in Northern Ireland who feel very strongly aligned to Britain, this is what they really have been asking for, and now the EU has made a concession. It doesn't mean that it is all going to be plain sailing, and the EU still has some sort of influence in Northern Ireland, and some form of EU laws will still have to be applied. But definitely the EU, from a British point of view, has been very nice to Rishi Sunak, and there was definitely a reason for him to smile.
Jack, as Birgit just said, lots of concessions there from the EU side. How far did the EU go to make this deal go through?
Well, I think when we look at this, what they've tried to do is just to placate the British government in the sense of these red and green lanes. This might sound like minutiae for a province, Northern Ireland, of less than 2 million people, where why is this such a big deal? But this is really all about the philosophy of keeping that border on the island of Ireland open between the Republic of Ireland that remains within the European Union and Northern Ireland, which, as Birgit's saying, wants to remain as close to the United Kingdom in a regulatory fashion as possible, bearing in mind the Good Friday Agreement, which prevented the troubles, you know, the violence that was taking place in the 90s and earlier. And that's been the real concern over this. I think it was so interesting in that press conference between Sunak and von der Leyen. They were so keen to express this kind of calmness now after many turbulent years between the British government and the European Union. All the mood music from the capitals and here in Brussels, the officials that I've been speaking to that have been negotiating this deal over the last couple of weeks is that there is a complete shift between the Sunak government and Boris Johnson's government on this, where they're trying to show that there is a new relationship possible. And that's exactly what the British Prime Minister said during that press conference. This is a new chapter in relations, and the atmosphere was visibly different between those two leaders at that presser today.
So a new chapter, a deal has been struck, but it's not the end of the line for Rishi Sunak. He still needs to sell this deal to his party. Birgit, why is that such a problem?
He needs to sell the deal to his party, and also he needs to sell the deal in Northern Ireland, and that's going to be very, very difficult. So on one hand, the mood music between London and Brussels is very good, as Jack described very well. But on the other hand, what does it actually mean for Belfast? So it is not going to be easy to sell this deal in Belfast, because there will still be people, and quite a significant amount of people, who feel that there should be no involvement of the EU in Northern Ireland whatsoever. I spoke to a source earlier today, a social worker, and she feels very strongly British, and she says, well, why do they have any say at all? She doesn't want that, and she thinks this is a unification with Ireland by the back door, and that she's very, very worried about this. And there is a significant amount of those in Northern Ireland who feel very British, that this still will be unacceptable. So Rishi Sunak now has the really big task ahead to talk to those unionists in Northern Ireland and then to those in his own party who are very strongly aligned with the unionists. And that's not going to be easy at all.
Jack Bigot hinted on that. Is it fair to say the EU has preferred working with Rishi Sunak?
Absolutely no question about it, and that was really visible in that press conference. I think another thing that was interesting is Rishi Sunak only talked about EU law. Never in the press conference did he mention the words European Court of Justice. He left that to Ursula von der Leyen to say that for the European Union, the court that is in charge of this deal, the final deciding court, is the European Court of Justice, and she mentioned that. It showed to me that there must have been some kind of choreography between those two leaders, very uncommon in Brexit conferences of previous years that we've watched over the time. As Birgit was saying, he has to sell this, he has to get it through, and Sunak took this sort of tone of kind of school teacher. We're going to allow people their time to look through this. We understand that this is about people, that they need to look through it. From a Brussels perspective, all of the officials that I've been speaking to this morning and earlier today have basically said that this is the deal that's done. The Prime Minister has to get this through, and that there is absolutely zero desire among EU capitals or here in Brussels to go back to the negotiating table. So really now, this is down to the UK government to get through.
DW's Jack Parrock and Birgit Maas reporting from Brussels and from London. Thank you both very much.